Happy Wednesday. Hello, hello. How is everyone? Is everyone making it? Are you staying warm wherever you are? I know lots and lots of people are having big time frozen tundra where you are. I'm in Texas. It's a little chilly, but it's nothing compared to up north. So I hope everyone is staying warm and safe. Yeah, I don't envy any of y'all up there. I lived in Indiana most of my life until I was an adult, and yeah, I'm glad I don't live there anymore. No offense to anybody, but I don't handle the cold. I don't do it. Here, getting in the 40s and 50s is cold enough for me. Hello, everyone. How is everyone tonight? Good, I hope. Okay, so I figured I would do. Hey, Pat. Hey, Kelly. Hey, everybody. I figured I would do something a little bit different tonight than our standard, I guess if you want to say standard, just royal icing. We're still using royal icing, but everything is just flooded in white. So we're going to be doing some fun little watercoloring and a different kind of look going on here. If you are interested in where I got any of my cutters or any material I'm using tonight, we have a keyword tonight that is watercolor. So if you put in watercolor, and then after you leave our live, if you look in your Facebook Messenger inbox, there will be some instructions in there to follow, and it will get you to some really cool information. Okay, so hey guys, hey Faye, how is everybody? Okay, so here's the three cookies I'm going to be doing tonight. So this one, you can obviously probably tell, it's going to say love. And then we have a little pair of lips here. Now, if you're in my cookie crew, you got a little bit of a hint last night. You may not have known it if you saw it in there, but I posted some cookies that I did last night playing around with this, a picture. So you got to see ahead of time a little bit of a preview, you just didn't know it. So I'm also using this little banner here. Now on this one I did a little bit different. On the other one I didn't put these little hearts on, but they're these, and I'm sorry, I knew I was probably going to be talking about them. I didn't put a link, but I got them at Michael's. They're just like a little, they're edible. They're just like a little, these little kind of metallic-y little pink hearts. And I just kind of put them on the icing when it was wet, just to kind of see how I felt about it. Because these don't matter. You know, we're just going to be playing around with these cookies. So I did it, and I'm kind of like, I'm okay with it. But the other one I did last night did not have those on it. Thanks for sharing, Jane. Hey, Mary. Hey, Donna. Okay, so like I said, we're going to be doing watercolor. Now, these I flooded in yesterday. They're completely dry. They're all just flooded in white. Yeah, Darla. So they're watercolor. So I painted the color on, which you'll see in a second, which I'm getting ready to tell you guys about. I have like one of these little like paint palettes here. This is red, it's just dried up in there. But I use my gel colors, and then I just add in, like I have a little bottle here that I keep Everclear in. So you could use Everclear, vodka, any extract you want. I highly recommend using something that has alcohol content in it. It dries faster. It won't pitch your icing. If you just do it with water, you may not get very much pitting because watercolor is so light anyway, but I always just prefer to use alcohol. That totally sounded like I was being like an alcoholic or something just now. I'm like, I totally prefer to use alcohol. That's not what I meant. I like to use something that has alcohol content in it when I'm doing the gel colors, just because it evaporates so much faster. It goes on the cookie smoother. So this is a little tray. I mean, I got it, I think at Michael's or something. They're like $1. You get them in the painting section. And so I just put in my gel colors here, and then just mix in Everclear. I know, right, Pat? I totally sounded like, oh, I prefer alcohol. Okay, so that's what I do. I paint with that. And then what we'll do is we're going to do a little bit of detail with some edible marker. Okay. So let's go ahead. I think let's start with the love cookie. Doesn't really matter what we start with. We're going to do all three. And let's see here. Hey guys, welcome, welcome. If it's your first time, by the way, I always forget to tell people this. If it is your first time here joining us, my name is Katrina, and I am the cookie artist here at Dots and Bows Cookies. So welcome, we're happy to have you. Cheryl, you're at the beach? No fair. Although I can't complain. It's going to be like in the 70s here on Sunday. I mean, it's not the beach, but I'm not suffering like some of our other viewers probably are. Okay, so what I'm doing, I have a couple different brushes here, and these are pink handle brushes that I got from Hobby Lobby. This is the ones I use primarily most of the time for my anything I'm doing on cookie, and they are for cookies. Hey Kelly, hey Peggy, hey Cindy. I'm excited, y'all. All y'all that are coming. I saw Peggy's name. It reminded me. Everybody that's coming to my class on Friday, I'm super excited to see y'all. Okay, so here's what I'm doing. I'll grab this. Sorry for reaching in front of the camera there. I'll grab this and kind of show you what I do. So all I do is with watercolor on cookies, you want it to be very faint. You don't want it to be super saturated. You want it to look like watercolor. Have you ever seen watercolor paint be done? So the way that I do it, I just barely tip my brush in. You don't want very much on the brush. And then what I do is I have a paper towel over here to the side. And you'll see when I show you. You see how it's all blotted up? That was from when I was working on some last night. So you just kind of blot your brush over on that to where you just have a little bit of, you don't want this saturated very much at all. Okay? You can always add to it. That's my always thing is you can add, it's harder to take away. Okay? So, yes, Belinda, these are brushes for cookies. They're for cookie decorating. They are sold at Hobby Lobby. They come in a pack of, I want to say 5 or 6. And there's a bunch of different sizes. But they're great. I love them. Hey, Lorraine. Hey, Christina. Hey, Diane. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I am going, and this will evaporate. The color will evaporate fast because I'm using Everclear, which evaporates like super duper fast. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of start outlining where my letters would be. And this doesn't have to be perfect because watercolor paint is not. That's another reason why I like decorating and doing cookies like this. They're not super precise. You don't have to, you know, be super stressed about, oh, are my lines super straight or whatever. And you'll see here in a bit, especially why it doesn't need to be perfect, of a way that we're going to be doing something on this cookie. Let me zoom in a little bit so y'all can see. Give me 1 second here. I just want y'all to see it a little bit better. Okay. So, Christine, my paint is just gel food coloring that I have diluted down with Everclear. So it just makes it super duper thin. Just like it would be if you were to see like a watercolor paint, an actual paint. And let's see here. I'm going to outline down around the V. And you can see it is super light right now. I'm sticking with it light, and if I want to go darker, I will. You just add to it. But I like to start lighter just to kind of get it going. So all I'm doing is as I go and I touch just a little bit more into the my paint, which if you want to call it that, and then I just kind of blot it off on the paper towel because a little goes a real long way with this. You don't need a whole lot. Hey guys, how's everybody tonight? Hello all, welcome. Yeah, I figured we were just going to have a little bit of fun tonight and do some painting. Okay, so for this, I think what I'm going to do is, on the other one I did my O a little bit different, but I think I'm going to do it more standard. And I'm going to come across here and I'm going to start outlining like my E shape first. So once we get it all kind of outlined, then we're going to go and we're going to paint it in a sec. Hey everybody. Welcome. Okay, so I'm just lining up where I kind of want my letter to go. So who here has tried to do any kind of watercolor painting on cookie, painting on cookie, anything in this realm? I don't do it a whole lot. I'll be honest with you. It's not something I do a ton. It's super easy. And I love the effect it gives on some cookies and the look it gives. I just don't do it on a regular. I probably should do it more, but I don't. You have, Lori? Do you like doing it? Hey, Cindy. You have not, Becky? Well, if you have not, and this O, like I said, I think I'm going to do this a little bit different than I did the other one. So I'm just going to start outlining. If you haven't tried, I encourage you to at least just try it. You never know. You know, it may be something that you just really love. It may be something that you just go, this isn't for me. And that's fine. I mean, that's kind of like the journey in cookies, right? Figuring out what's for you and what's not for you. Okay. Now I'm going to outline just the inside of the O here, and then we'll start kind of painting and filling it in. Ooh, rainbow. That sounds cute. Like anything with the rainbow, unicorn, that kind of stuff, I'm totally down for. I'm trying to keep this in so y'all can see it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, now that I have it kind of outlined where I want everything to be, no Peggy, but I'm excited. I am going to be starting to prep some stuff tomorrow for our class on Friday night. I'm pretty excited. So all I'm doing is I'm just kind of, you'll see how it, you can kind of see the brush strokes because that's how watercolor looks. It's very, like the name says, it's very kind of like a watery, right? So you're just going to kind of fill this in, and we're going to go over this again just a little bit to give it a little bit more depth. But I think you're going to really like how these cookies look in the end, because once you get all of your watercolor on and then you go back in with edible marker and add some details, it really brings them to life. She said, please flood the cookie. I know, right? When you're used to seeing cookies done like the traditional way and then you start branching out and doing something different, it's different. It's a different thing. But I like to test out all kinds of different ways to do things on cookie. Yeah, but you're going to see it. We're going to do a little bit of some flowers here on the banner. We're going to do a little bit of some just tiny ones, tiny little watercolor flowers. So you can see I'm already dry where I put the first layer down because, like I said, it's this Everclear. It dries super fast. So I'm just going through and just touching up a couple spots as I go, making it kind of deepening it a little bit. You know, I didn't even draw on the inside of my V. Y'all are letting me slack. I was getting ready to tell y'all something. Now I don't remember. Oh, like if you wanted to go in with like another pink on here or red on here, you can do that too. For this particular cookie, I kind of just like leaving it with the pink. But you'll see we're going to add a couple different pinks on one of the other cookies here in a minute. But these really don't take too long, especially if you are like when I did the ones last night, it probably took me, I don't know, about 15 minutes to do the 3 cookies from start to finish. From the time I started painting to all the details on the end. It really doesn't take too long. Especially, I mean, if you're not doing it on a live, obviously, and talking and stopping and reading comments and stuff, it goes a lot faster. Okay, so like I said, I'm just filling this in. It does look retro, doesn't it? I love this look. I mean, when I finished the ones last night, I was like, oh, that's really cute. Okay, so you can see it definitely has, hey Liz, it definitely has like that watercolor, right? Okay, so we're going to set this one off to the side for a sec. We'll come back to it. And then the next one we're going to do, so Karen, I'll tell you what I'm using. Actually, I'll tell you guys. We have it in our scroll bar, and if you put the keyword in, we have the links to everything. But the light pink that you just saw me using is actually Dusty Rose by Watercolor. So that's the gel I used with the Everclear. Hey, Emily, thank you. And then the darker pink that you're going to see me using, actually, I'm lying to you. No, this is. The darker pink that you're going to see me using in a second is Preppy Pink. For a second, I think I even told Carrie when we were setting up our stuff today I was using Genie Pink, but I'm not. I totally forgot. Last night I was going to use Genie Pink, but I thought, no, I'm going to try out the Preppy Pink. So this is the Cookie Countess Preppy Pink. You'll see it here in a second. It's like a more of a magenta. And then we're going to be doing some green color on one of our cookies here. And this is this is actually Maricolor in Hobby Lobby, exactly the same, but it's a mint green. So Carrie's probably going to be like, what in the world? Because I really messed her up. I told her a Maricolor mint green, and it's, you know, whatever. You guys get it, right? Like, come on. Hey, Jen. I saw you're on vacation. Super jealous. But we are, my husband and I are trying to plan out our vacation for spring break right now. It's not going bad by any means, but you know, when you're planning out any kind of stuff like that, you're like, ugh, you know. Okay, so on this lip, here's what we're gonna do. I'm going to go in with a different pink just because I wanted to kind of give it a different look. And let me rinse my brush off because I accidentally put my pink. I put the brush that I've been using in pink, I put it in my green. And I don't want any green on there, so let me just get that cleaned off with some Everclear here. Okay, so I'm going in with a different brush. You could definitely use the other brush if you wanted to, but I'm still going to be using the one I just had in light pink, so I want to keep it without any other pink on it. So, hey Jan. So I'm going to go in with this is that Preppy Pink, and you'll see it here in a second. It's more of a magenta. So I'm going to do the same thing like I did on the lip. I'm going to first just go along and start really just outlining around the whole thing. You really want it to kind of look not perfect, right? It doesn't have to be perfect lines. You want it to just kind of be really, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. It's like on the tip of my tongue. I can't think of the word I'm trying to use. Yes, Belinda, I do. If I'm using just color, a lot of times I will just rinse it with hot water. But if I'm obviously if I'm using it with like actual icing or anything like that, I wash them with soap and water. Just like a dish soap, maybe like Dawn or something. Okay, so now what I'm doing is you'll see I wiped a little bit off. I want it to be kind of more of that watercolor. So I'm dragging just a little bit of moisture I have in my brush, and I'm going to kind of make the outline of these lips. And I'm going to add a little bit more, but I'm going to blot it pretty good because I don't want it super duper saturated. I really just want just a tiny bit on my brush. So I'm just going through and following kind of like the design that you would have on the lips. And I like to like go around and kind of blot it so you can see it's giving it that watercolor look. Yep, this is hand painted, really. I mean, if you want to call it that. I mean, to me, this doesn't take a whole lot of skill. It's just like watercolor painting. You're just painting on the color. Okay, so that's what we're going to leave on that set. Now, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in with our light pink. You probably won't see it too much, but it'll add just a little bit of depth. So I'm grabbing that other brush back, and I have just a little bit of the light pink on it. And I'm just going to kind of pull that through a little bit because you'll kind of see that. I mean, you probably won't even see it on camera very much, but it's going to be just enough that it gives it just a little bit more depth. In person, you can see it a little bit, but it may be hard to see on here. So this is, Christy, I can't see your whole question because it cuts off part of it, but this is just gel coloring that I add Everclear to. I just dilute it down a bit, thin it out with Everclear. Pretty little trees, right? I know. Okay, so there's the lip. So we're going to set this aside for a sec. okay? Because we're going to come back in with all of these and do some edible marker to finish off. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now my review of these little pink hearts. I'm not a super huge fan. I feel like they're very fragile and they kind of came up off the icing a little bit. And maybe that's because I didn't super pat them down into it. So I can tell you I wasn't super thrilled about them. I think they look better in the little vial than maybe they do after I'm done on the cookie. I'm not sure. My verdict is still kind of out on that. Your gel, so here's the thing. It's going to clump up a little bit. The gel just naturally does it. It'll stick to your brush a bit. I just keep stirring it and it'll eventually break it down a little bit more. You still at the end may still have a little bit of a clump that you need to take out, but the gel is so concentrated, it'll still color it really well. Like you don't have to have that whole drop of gel you put in to get it to that color. For instance, mine did it a little bit in this dusty rose, right? You can see still how saturated that is. Some of it clumped a bit on my brush and I just wiped it off the brush. But if you stir it up for long enough, it'll still tint the Everclear that you have in there. Okay, so on this one, I am going to first draw on like our little flags on like our banner. So again, I just have a little bit of that light pink color and I'm going to outline first. Yeah, it'll still clump up a little bit when you use Everclear. That's just kind of what it does. But, you know, even if there's still a little bit of a clump, if you stir it for a while around in that Everclear, it will tint it really well. It doesn't take much. Hey Lois, we're just playing with some watercolors tonight. I don't know what it is. Like my allergies are not that bad, and then as soon as I go live, I have like the sniffles. It's weird. I don't know if it's because I'm looking down or what is going on. Okay, so right now, like I said, I'm just outlining the shape that I want my little flags on my banner. And then we'll paint those in. And then we're going to do something fun up here. I'll show you at the end the ones I did last night. You'll see the difference between this banner and the other banner I did. Just because this one has the little hearts at the top. Okay, so I barely have anything on my brush. It's not very much at all. So I'm going to go in here and just fill in our banners. And again, you want it to kind of look, right? You kind of want to see those brush strokes. You want to see that stuff in there because that's the whole point of watercolor. It's not super opaque. Like I purposely like to kind of push my brush down in a couple spots so you see that more of like that texture where I put the brush down. Hey Robin. Oh, good Faye. I'm glad you were able to get in. I have some pretty fun cookies planned for our Friday class. I'm pretty excited. Okay. So now that we have that part done, now I'm going to show you what I did. I made a couple of flowers at the top like little roses, so I'll show you how to do that. And then we add a little bit of greenery. So I'm going to go back in. The first color I'm going to go in with is this light pink that we were just using. And so what I do is I just kind of do a circular type motion, right? And you're just making little marks to where you want it to look basically like a rose, right? So it's going to be really kind of hard for you to see that, and I'll lift it up. So even with the one color on there, you can kind of see we're getting around that shape, but we're going to go in with that darker pink as well and give it a little bit more depth. And I'm going to do probably the same thing I did on the cookie last night, I think. I'm going to go in here and do like 2 over here. And then we'll do 2 over here. I mean, even if you're a beginner in the cookie world, this is something you can totally play around with because there's so much room for error. It's really hard to mess it up. So I always tell everyone, you know, yeah, I'll zoom in a little bit. Let me see if I can get closer to them. You know, just try it out. See what you can do. Okay, so I'm going back in with our more of that magenta color. And again, I don't have very much on my brush at all. And then what I did with this one is you just want to kind of come in here and you're doing kind of the same marks you did before as you would see on a rose. So kind of like that centricular kind of, like, if you can see that, I'm just kind of making it to where you can see like the depths of a rose. And I know the lighting on here is probably not like the best to see it all. Hey, Ressie. Jane, is Annette on here? Did I miss her? Oh, Annette, hey! I didn't even see you. I'm down here. My face is down on the cookie painting. How are you, girl? Okay. So you can see the beginnings of it here. Like I said, we have some edible marker work we're going to be doing, but you can see how we're getting them to resemble roses. Now what I'm going to do is I have this super thin little brush here, little detail brush, and I have the mint green over here with the Everclear. Ressie, I didn't even notice that till just now when you corrected it. I didn't even notice that you misspelled it. And so what I do with this, I have still just a tiny bit on here. I blotted it off on the paper towel. And I'm just going to come in here and we're going to start with doing like one little vine that way. And I know it's super light on your end probably, but I'll lift it up here in a second. I think I'm going to even try to turn the brightness down just a tad. That might help a little bit. Tell me if that helped or if it made it worse. I don't know. So right now I'm just kind of going in and making a couple of like little leaf shapes. You don't even need to really necessarily even completely fill them in. You know what I'm saying? You just want that shape. And I'm putting a couple here in between the flowers because I'll show you in a minute what we do with the edible marker to kind of bring this to life. These colors are more or less kind of like a blurred background is what you're going for. Oh, good. I'm glad that you can see it better now. Sometimes the lighting and stuff just kind of washes things out. I figure with the brightness turned down a little bit, it'd maybe be a better contrast. Okay, so like I said, I am just putting on our little leaves and stuff. Thank you, Gloria. And thanks, Annette. You guys are sweet. So you can see, I am barely touching the paintbrush down on here. It is just barely grazing the surface. Okay. So can you all see that? Okay. So now what we're going to do, we are done with our painting. Okay. That's the little bit of paint that we had to do. Now I'm going to go in. These have like a really cool, like kind of retro look when you add the marker to it. So this is just a black edible marker. I have a few different kind of brands. This one, I can't even remember where I got it at, to be quite honest with you. But it has two ends on it. It has a thinner, finer point end, and then it has a thicker end. I'm going to be using the more fine point end. Hey, Jackie. Give me y'all a second. My teen daughter is texting me. Oh, okay. She's at work, so I was like, oh, I need to fix that. I was like, oh my gosh, she's at work. What's happening? But she's fine. Okay, so here's what we're going to do on this one. I'm going to go in with the black marker, and we're going to start doing some really, there's a word that I'm trying to think of that I want to use, and I don't know why I can't get my brain to think of it. I almost want to keep saying authentic, but that's not the word I'm looking for. So I'll kind of just show you, and you'll kind of see what I'm trying to do. So as I start going over these watercolors, I'm not going to go directly to the edge. I am just going to kind of really it's kind of like a vintage type look, is just start kind of outlining with the black. And again, I like this because you don't have to be perfect. You can just kind of start doing your thing, right? They're rough, Brianna? Mine are pretty smooth. Maybe you just got a bad batch or something, maybe? Mine are pretty smooth. And like on a couple places, I'll do kind of like more of a solid line. I'll kind of break it up and do a couple dots, a smaller line. You just want it to look really kind of vintage. You don't want it to look perfect by any means. Yes, very vintage, Jane. That's what I like about it too. It's a little bit different. Very kind of like a vintage Valentine look. These would be pretty even for like a wedding type look, a wedding shower, something like that. Yeah, you could do black watercolor. I just usually, the marker is just so easy for me to grab, and I feel like sometimes the marker gives you better control versus than using like a, like a smaller fine paintbrush like I was using. I feel like you would get a little bit better control just using the marker, but that's just me. Somebody else could think differently. This particular cutter is from Bobby's Cookie Cutters on Etsy. It's one of her banners. Mother's Day, yeah, it would be pretty for that too. Okay, so once we get that in, I'm going to actually fill this in with Love. It'll be Love. So I'm going to probably do the same thing I did last night. So I started out really just doing this kind of vintage look with the letters, right? And you kind of just want to have little jagged marks around it because it makes it look like it was just this hand-drawn lettering, okay? They dragged your RI. I wonder if, I don't know if is it the same brand as this? Because I can't even tell you where I got these at, honestly. I think I got them at, I don't know, maybe my local cake store. I don't even know where I got them. I have a few different brands of black, and I can't remember where I get half of my stuff, truth be told. Okay. So you can see I'm doing it to where one side of the letter is thicker, the other is like a block style, and then the other side is not, okay? Markers are really great. If you can really get into using markers for particular looks, they do a great job. So you can see I'm just kind of doing like little marks around them. It just gives them that really, I don't even know. Vintage is a really good way to put it. Like shabby chic, I guess, like someone said, right? Almost like the shabby chic. Okay, I'm going to draw out my E over here first. And I think I'm going to leave those like that. Like that. And like I said, I just like to add like a couple little marks around the letters. Okay. These may be CK brand. I mean, they're not marked at all, so I have no idea. They're not very old. I want to say maybe I even got them from Amazon. I don't know. I can't even remember where I got them at. Yeah, they are kind of Victorian. You're right. They're very much like that. And then what I do on the roses is I just accentuate again, kind of some little marks all inside the roses. So what I'll do is I like to come in here and I'll do like just a couple of marks around it. Okay? You're just kind of outlining and accentuating some of those where kind of like the petals would be in the rose. And then I'll do some like little dots. Like I said, there's no right or wrong. You just kind of do your thing. Okay, so there's those. And then on on the greenery, you're kind of just doing the same thing. You don't want it to look perfect. So on some of these, I won't outline the entire leaf. I'll just do kind of follow along, right? Like where I did the stem, I won't do it as a solid line. You're really just giving it the accents with the marker. So for this one, I'd probably, you know, kind of like that. Okay. And you can see it gives it a completely different look. Yeah, gray would be pretty too. And you know, I'm such a weirdo. I have, I don't know. I'm such a like a symmetrical, like to me things need to be perfect. So when I'm trying to make things not perfect, I feel like I struggle with that more than I do making perfect things like lines. I don't know. Maybe I'm the weirdo. Oh, I'm glad you're back, Ressie. Okay, so this is pretty much it for that one. So you can see how easy we got through that one. It gives it a cute, different kind of like little look, right? So I'll show you really quick. This is the one I did last night without the little pink hearts at the top. You can see they're very, very similar, right? Same type deal. The only difference is I didn't have the little hearts at the top of that one. Because like I said last night, I was playing around and I was like, let me see how I like these. Hillbilly teeth, that's what you thought? Could be. No, Donna, I don't think so because it's no different than your food coloring. That's all that's in these markers. It's just food coloring. So I've never had one person say anything to me about it. Okay, so I'm going to show you what I did with the other lips. They're really, really easy. Basically, the only thing that you're going to do is you just do kind of, you know, a really imperfect outline around the lips. Just, you know, however you draw this out. Okay, so there's the outline. And then what I do is I come in here and you're going to do the same kind of like jagged, if that's what you want to call it. I don't even know what you want to call it. Haphazard maybe is the right word, kind of thing for the center where the lips are, right? And then from there, all I did was add a few like little accent marks. So you'd come down here and add like an accent mark here, maybe like a little line here, here, maybe some little lines with a couple little dots up here, just because it gives it a little bit more of that antique kind of shabby look. And that's it, y'all. That's all you have to do. So this is just a black marker. I'm going to zoom this out just a little bit so that y'all can see because we don't need to be super close. So this is the one up here. I did it a little bit darker last night. So that's what I did last night. Here's the one we just did tonight. So you can see you have the background as the watercolor and then we just accented with the black marker. It does. That's what it made me think of too. Kind of like a comic book look. Okay, let's go back to our love. Let me move some of these out of the way. And by the way, these dry so fast. So this is the one we did tonight. I'm not going to go over the marker because it takes just a second to dry. But that Everclear, as soon as you put it down and you paint with it, within a couple seconds it's dry. Completely dry. Nothing will come off. Very shabby chic. Yes. So if you're into shabby chic, you love these. Okay, so the only thing that we're going to do with the love, again, we're going to do the same technique. We're just going to be outlining the letters and adding a few like marks on there to give it that look. So same deal. That's why I said these go really quick. Once you get some of the other parts done, the rest of it kind of flies by. It really doesn't take much at all. Okay, so there's our L. Yeah, they do. I think it's just because the watercolor, it makes it look like that cartoon look. It looks like they've been colored in, as if something maybe were colored in with crayons or even markers. That's kind of what it reminds me of. Okay. So, like I said, there's no real wrong or right. You're just following along the letters. Give a class in Virginia? Maybe one day. You never know where I'm going to turn up. You never know where you may see me teaching a class at. But I hope y'all will think a little bit more. If you haven't tried the watercolor or painting on cookies at all, you should definitely give it a go, because I promise you it is not hard. And, you know, ooh, watercolor boho feathers, those would be really pretty. That's something you can easily pull off with watercolors, the watercolor look. Okay, so once I get all the outline done here, the only thing that I did a little bit different was, and I'll show you on the other sec kind of what I did. I kind of just went and made some like little hash marks, some stuff just to kind of muddy it up. So I would do kind of like a line here, a couple dots here and there. You really want it to look like it was kind of sketched in, right? So like that. We'll do a couple over here. You really just want to give it, kind of like that authentic type look. And like on the inside here, I'll do, a couple little marks. There's no wrong or right. You just go for it, make it your own. Let me see. I'm trying to see. Yours are Cake Craft? I don't know what these are, honestly. I may have gotten them from Amazon. I don't know. I'll have to go back and see where I got them at. How much Everclear do you use with luster dust? It depends on what you're going to do with it. If you're wanting to do something that's really thin like this, you're going to want to add enough to where it's thin enough for you to work with that way. And just remember, anytime you're working with something like Everclear, it evaporates super fast. So, not that that matters. I mean, you can add more to it or add more color or whatever, but, But I mean, it depends on what you're going to do with it. If you're wanting it to be really, really thin for painting, you're going to thin it enough to where it's that same type consistency. It's really watery. Okay, so I'm just kind of adding a couple little details here, a couple little dots here and there. Okay, what do y'all think of that? So you can see how quickly I went through and just did that. Doesn't take very long at all. You could use whatever color markers you want. You could use pink, red, whatever you wanted to do. You could totally play around with it. So here's the one I just did. This is very similar, kind of the one I sketched out last night. Okay. So y'all can see these don't take much at all. You're using one icing color. You're flooding in. You could even flood in with, like, if you didn't want to do a white base, you could do a very, very, you just want it to be lighter, because that's the only thing. For watercolor, it needs to be on a lighter base for it to really stand out. So you could do like a light pink base, any kind of super light pastel base you could do that with, anything like that. So I'll bring these over so you can kind of see them, what we did. Like last night when I had the red out, I was like, maybe I'll do red lips. But then I kind of started playing around with the darker pink, and I'm a pink person anyway. And I was like, oh, I really like the pink. I'm just going to go with pink. We'll keep the whole thing pink vibe. But it's just a much different look. It just gives your cookies a different look. And I'll show you, like, I love this one even more from last night. I like it without the little sprinkles, which, like I said, I use those hearts just to kind of play around with it. But I just love this look. I think it's super cute. It's different. You know, it's not the norm. What kind of spray sheen would you do on these? Belinda, what are you talking about? Are you talking about like over the top once they're all done, spraying them with something, or what do you mean? Yeah, the banner's one of my favorites. I love the banner. They're super, super quick, Zona. Yeah, for sure. Like I said, the longest time it's going to take is just for you to flood them in and let them dry. I mean, if you have a dehydrator and you can get these, you know, pop in there to get them sped up a little bit more, let them sit for an hour or two, you're golden. You can go right in here. I mean, for instance, it's drier here, so keep that in mind. But here with our drier air, I flooded these yesterday and I did the 2 sets, right? Because I wanted to play around with them last night and kind of see how I felt about it. And I played around with those last night, but I only let them set out, not under a fan, not in a dehydrator, nothing like that. They just sat out on the cookie sheet in my cookie room. And within like 2 to 3 hours, they were like super dry, like dry enough that I was able to go in and do everything on them and not have a problem. Have you tried detail flowers? I would love to paint my icing got craters. I can't see the rest of your stuff, Lori, but yes. If you're meaning like detail flowers, or do you mean with painting detail flowers, or do you mean detail flowers with royal icing? Thank you. Yeah, I love the banner too. You know what almost reminds me of too is, this reminds me almost of like that tattoo type look that you would see with stuff like the very retro, that type look. This is what that reminds me of. A shiny sparkle. If you wanted to, you could go over the top of all of these with like a pearl, if you wanted to, like a pearl airbrush or a pearl spray. I don't know that I would do that. If you're going for this kind of look, watercolor is very muted. If you wanted to add that to it, you could, but if you wanted to stick to the traditional watercolor look of it, you definitely want it to be matte, because watercolor is very matte and muted. Yeah, I hope you guys try them. Yeah, the tattoo, that's what I said. It very much reminds me of that. But I hope you guys give it a try. I think you'll like it. So thanks a lot for joining me tonight. I know it was kind of a little bit of a shorter one, not one of our longer ones, but you know, these don't take very long. So if you guys are interested, I don't know all that Carrie put in the links for tonight, but if you're new to us and you don't know, we have some ebooks if you're new to cookie decorating. We have a lot of fun stuff on the website. If you are not in our cookie crew, there's info about that. And then also we have some extra cookie cutters that we have up in the shop on the website, on the regular shop, not the cookie crew shop, because that's different. That's just for our cookie crew members. But on our regular website shop, we have some extra cookie cutters and stuff from our crew if you're interested in looking at those. So I think we covered all of our bases tonight. So thank you guys so much for joining us, and I will be talking to you guys soon. Okay? You guys have a great night. Bye.